During without rule of law, the only advantage you may have is home court advantage. You want to be able to use that to its fullest extent. That's why it's critical you have a solid and well thought out neighborhood defense plan. And in this video, we're just going to go over just some basic stuff that I think people should know. Alright, the first thing we're going to talk about is knowing the layout of your neighborhood and surrounding areas. And it's critical that you know every single square inch. That way you can go to and from many different ways, and preferably ways that you will not be seen. Know the ways the vehicles take, know the ways random people on foot take, convenient the roads, the back alleyways, the footpaths, even utilizing people's yards maybe or abandoned properties to cut across roads. So it's critical you know all this stuff and have many routes that you can take in every single direction. Another thing you want to know is the lines of sight in your area. Know the distances of those lines of sight for your dope. The reason you want to do that is so when you go out and train, as an example, say I go out my door, it's 225 yards to the left, 255 yards to the right. That's because when I go and train, I want to practice making shots 225 yards, 255 yards, in various wind and just weather conditions. Another thing that you do want to do is take a lot of walks with your night vision, at night obviously, and go all the routes that you know of. That way you can see how effective your night vision is in your neighborhood and how far you can actually see in various lighting conditions. So you have to do this all the time in different lighting conditions, so you know how far you can see with your nod. I do recommend that you take your eye or laser with you so you can see how far this is effective out to you, meaning how far I can see the illuminator on low and high power, how far can you see the laser on low and high power, and then go train with those distances and know how far you can actually engage effectively with this device. If you don't have night vision or a laser, what I recommend you do is just take your weapon light. That's also critical to know so you know how far you can actually see and engage with this white light at night. Alright, coordination and communication with your neighbors. It's important that you do establish relationships before something actually happens, so you know them ahead of time and aren't, trying to forge a relationship when things are getting pretty tough. So I do recommend you do that. Even know the ones who may be a problem, because that's something you also want to know. As far as communication goes, I'm not an expert with radio, so I do recommend you go to someone's channel who knows a lot more than me, and that's all I'm going to say about that. If things actually get pretty tough, it won't be long before there's people rioting and looting on the street. So it's important that you know likely targeted areas and resources, both so you can stay away from them and maybe protect them from sabotage. As an example, I do live in the desert, so any areas that they store water in my general area, I do know about. Now we're on to locking down your neighborhood. It's important that you can actually dictate movement coming in your neighborhood. So you want to be able to dictate vehicles as well as people on foot once they dismount. So you do want to be able to block vehicles from coming in. Just know the difference between stopping a tracked vehicle and stopping a more conventional vehicle like a truck or SUV with tires, because you do have to use different methods. And once they dismount, you do want to funnel them into areas of convenience for yourself. You also want to have tools and resources on hand to actually construct defensive positions. And you do want to plan all this stuff out ahead of time, including the area that you do want to construct these defensive positions, so you can deal with these avenues of approach. When it comes to dictating the movement of vehicles, this is where you have to be careful, because you want to be able to stop vehicles from coming in, but you don't effectively want to block your own vehicles from escaping in the event of an emergency, or if you actually just need to escape. So my advice would be have at least 1 or 2 escape routes that you can leave in that are concealed or maybe easily blocked off and unblocked. When it comes to my bug out plan, I already know what I'm taking and I already know how long it takes me to get it here to a vehicle or put it on and leave by foot. Now obviously the vehicle is the preferred method, but you do want to have a plan in place to leave by foot if the situation actually dictates you do so. Now, I know what gear I want to take. It's already pre-packed. I have it loaded up in the safe. Some of it, only the stuff that I can't leave out. And I also have a couple spare empty totes just in case I have the time and the room. I have other gear that I do want to try to take with me, if at all possible. Now, if you have a plan in place like this, you need to know where you're going and preferably you need to have some resources, if at all possible, staged at the place you're actually trying to bug out to. Just keep in mind, if you do this by vehicle, there will probably be roadblocks. There's going to be ex-law enforcement, ex-military, marauders blocking the road and trying to take what little resources the people on the road traveling actually have. So just be aware of that going into this thing. The best time to actually bug out to a pre-staged location will be during the cover of darkness. So you do want to have night vision on hand and know how to use it before this actually happens. So I do recommend, even if you just get a basic PVS-14, you just get that, learn how to use it so you be trained up before you even need to actually pull this thing out and use it for real. I do recommend that you learn how to drive your vehicle with the headlights off, utilizing your night vision. Now, don't do this on the open road, but this is a skill you definitely want to acquire. I also recommend that you have multiple places of refuge and concealment along the way. Now, they don't have to be structures per se, but just areas you can pull off into and be concealed from the road in case you actually need to, conceal yourself and hide. One skill that would be very useful during your time of bugging out is knowing how to shoot from a moving and a stationary vehicle, as well as just in and around that vehicle, utilizing it for cover, which they're not very good at, and just setting up perimeters and defensive positions around the vehicle, because odds are you could very easily be forced off the road or be forced to stop. We've all seen this happen during protests on TV. Now imagine if all those people who are on the streets blocking traffic had weapons and they were trying to steal from the people in the cars. It probably wouldn't go very good for them. Professional training and training with people who are better than you is the only thing that allows you to mature as a shooter. Sure, you can train by yourself and you can get pretty good, but it's going to take you a lot longer to be able to become an accomplished shooter, and you're still not going to be at the same level as if you take instruction from multiple trainers who are all different and bring something different to the table to make you a very well-rounded and established shooter. Alright guys, this is just a basic video, not going too in-depth on any of these subjects, but just laying out a plan that I think everyone should have in place if they actually want to be successful during a time of chaos. If you have any questions, comments, of course, leave them down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.